The topic today, like I mentioned, is multi-location. So we're going to be talking about software solutions, um, tips and tricks that we deal with. We deal with a lot of multi-location businesses, whether it's chains, franchisees, just large multi-location kind of situations. So we've got a lot of experience, and we're going to be sharing some of those tips and tricks with you guys later on that hopefully will help your rollout be more successful. So. Um, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about some of the challenges, the centralized management solution that we offer, and then the tips and tricks and Q&A as well. So if you're not familiar with SCW, we are a value-driven company that provides end-to-end security solutions. And when it comes to multi-location, the mix of our clients are actually pretty varied, right? We have some that um, are all turnkey installation from us. So, we go out, we do the installation all across the country, from Alaska to Hawaii. We've done stuff to that. But we also have some of those that also prefer to self-install. They already have an internal team in their company that can go and handle the physical installation, and then they work with our US-based support team to, configure get the camera stuff set up, use that expertise that we have on available to make sure that every rollout is possible. And that's really one of our claims to fame is the world-class support. And I feel like for multi-location, this is probably even more important than most other clients. If you're somebody who's responsible for rolling out all these locations, you want to make sure you have somebody who's got your back, that can work with you if you're having implementation issues, or even when you have multi-location, you also have a lot of people who are going to be using, or potentially a lot of people are going to be using this solution. So just the ability for them to be able to call and ask, "Hey, I forgot how to export footage," or "Hey, how do I use that analytics search that we talked about?" The ability for them to call SCW rather than maybe calling you is a massive benefit that a lot of our multi-locations take advantage of. So definitely consider that going forward. All right, so we're going to talk about one of the challenges of multi-location is just the fact that you need to be able to access all these things together, right? You want to be able to see live video from all of your locations. You want to be able to play back footage from multiple locations. You want to do analytic searches without jumping through 80 different tabs. And sometimes that's difficult depending on, what platform you have, what solutions you've got, and sometimes even what solutions you're aware of are even existing, right? So, our solution for that is two-pronged. The first one is a software that we have for desktop. It runs on Windows and Mac, and it works with our Admiral, Imperial, and also our Corporal hybrid analog NVRs as well. And so what that allows us to do is view multiple systems simultaneously, even for multiple locations. And it offers a much elevated feature set over the browser. So for those who are just using our browser access, and maybe you want more customization, this is a much better option for that as well. So that solves kind of the need to go to multiple places for multiple sites. And let's talk about the key features a little bit before we go into the demo part of this. And the key features are you can view up to 64 cameras live simultaneously. You can have up to 64 different NVRs, again, from up to 64 different locations if you want to, or up to 512 channels, which would be, camera count. And that's all included with this. There's zero fees. There's not an initial software fee to download this. There's not any kind of recurring fees. There's not any kind of like upgrade fees or anything like that. So this is included when you do get one of those supported NVRs. Now, I think the easiest way of just talking about software instead of talking about it is just to show it. So let's go ahead and jump into our live demo side, and we'll just kind of go through the software here. So um, what we're looking at here is SCW ViewStation on Mac. It is basically identical on Windows as well. And the first thing, and we'll cover this later on too, is when it comes to multi-location, being able to manage all those locations is another big part of this. So being able to just log in to your account on the software and be able to easily access all your devices is really, really great. You can see here I simply logged into my account. It's then accessed all the NVRs that I own or were shared to me. So, whether you're the head admin of the system and you have access to all of them, or you share it off to a regional manager who has access to 3 or 4 locations, all they have to do is log in with that account, and it's easy to share, also easy to revoke access. We'll kind of cover that maybe towards the end as well, but I want to kind of show you how easy it is to set up. You log in, you got access. Now let's actually move on to the actual user side of it and what you could do when you actually are going to be using this software. So I'll hit up the live view section first and just kind of go over that and explain a little bit of what we're looking at here. So if you look on the left, you'll see that I have the 3 NVRs that we just saw in our device management screen here. One's our warehouse, one is our main office, and then one is a 4-channel demo. And from down here, I can select the grid options. So you see, again, we have camera grids that go all the way from just a single camera to 64. You can make your own. So if you prefer to have certain arrangements, there's a lot of customization within the software. I'll go ahead and choose 16 for now. And if I want to bring up our main office, all I have to do is double click. And that brings it up live. I'm remote to these locations, so I'm not on location, but you can see how quickly it can come up here as well. There we go. And so this allows us to quickly shift from location to location with very little issues, right? Um, the other thing that we can do as well is we can do multi-location together. So if we want to see some of the warehouse and some of the main office, we can do that as well. So let me go and show you an example of that. I'm going to choose this grid here, which is our six camera grid. And you'll notice we kind of have a big one here and the rest are smaller. And let's say I want to create a parking view. So I can search over here for parking, and you'll notice it filters out all the cameras that say parking on here. And so I can either choose to drag and drop things over, or I can also just kind of double click up here and it'll actually fill it in. So you can see, what that kind of looks like right now. And I can rearrange it however I want. So maybe I want this one up top, and maybe that looks good. So I can then name this view and save it. So let's go ahead and name it parking. And so this is now saved in our system, and I can go to this view tab over here, and you'll see that I have other options here. So I have, like, for example, our main office view. I've got one for kind of the hallways and entrances. I've got one for some of the outside cameras over here as well. And then I've got that parking view created there too. So when we put this into a multi-location perspective, obviously every business that you're in, whether it's a car wash, a car dealership, a um, convenience store, whatever it is, fast food, everything's going to be a little different. But you can imagine that if you were a car wash, you would have all of your bays in one view based on location, based on region. As well, we have a lot of people in the C-store, convenience store, that will put all of their cash registers in there, all of their gas pumps, and just be able to bring those up very, very quickly to kind of see what's going on. And so, you know, that's the main, highlight with the live view section. Of course, there are a bunch of other features we can go over. And I'll mention as well that if you're interested in learning more about this, certainly reach out to us. We can do a little bit more of a personalized demo, kind of show you features that maybe we're not going on here, like sequencing and PTZ controls and all that fun stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of the live view section. Access to a lot of cameras very quickly with great organization. Now, the next part of any security system, of course, is the ability to find footage. And so there are really 2 ways that we find footage within our systems these days. We either use the analytics or we use the sort of traditional playback method, which I'll show both of them. I always start with the analytics because that typically takes me much less time to find something. So let's start with that. So we go into our VCA section, our analytics section here, and I'm going to go to the search section. And you can choose whatever cameras you want from whatever location. You can choose multiple, you can choose one. So I'll just choose this one for now. We can also choose the time period. So whether you need to search for just a couple hours when you know something happened, or whether you want to search for days, you know, you can do that very quickly. Um, and the thing I can do here is I'm going to do just today, and we'll hit search. And you'll see that this shows all of the people in vehicle events that have occurred in front of this camera. So we can see this car over here, for example. We can see the snapshot. We can also see the video as well. And if I want to download this video, all I have to do is click this download button. It will download right to my computer as an MP4 file that you can go share off to wherever needs. So it's really easy to find that footage. We can also filter by just seeing people if we want to, or vehicles, depending on what you want to do there. And then we also have the ability on most of our new cameras now. So we just introduced a new line of cameras. So a lot of our most popular models now also have color search. So I can look for something like a black shirt, somebody wearing a black shirt, and it will filter people just wearing a black shirt. Or when it comes to vehicles, we can search for, you know, specific color vehicles as well. And so, you know, this makes that process so much easier to find footage. And we did have a webinar actually on analytics as well that I would check out. So this uses the AI that's built into the camera. So it's not just using like regular motion detection that detects flies and bugs and rain and all that fun stuff. So, all right. The next side of finding footage too is also our playback. So this is going to be very familiar with anybody who's ever had a security camera system. You basically choose your camera or cameras. You select your date. So let's just choose today. And from here, you can see that you know, this is a camera that's recording 24/7. So you can see it's got this. We're at midnight here. Nothing's really going on, but we're still recording. Now the cool thing is we still use that analytics in this as well. So if you look over here, you see these purple lines. If I zoom in on the timeline, you'll see that we also have. This is going to let us know basically that a person's been detected over here. So I can just click over here just before 8 o'clock, or just after 8 o'clock, I should say, and we will see the person walking in. And there we go. And you know, for this footage here, if I want to clip this footage, so for example, if I want the video of this person walking in, all I have to do is click this scissors button, and you can choose to either let this play through. You can fast forward. It's not going to give you a fast forwarded video or anything like that. I'll just let it play through. But once this the clip is over and you've got the footage you need, you just click it one more time, and then that gives us our time frames. You can select a longer time period. You can select a shorter time period if you want to. So it's customizable from there. Um, and then the last thing too is we also have this download button. This allows us to download any of those clips in bulk. So we can download like multiple ones here. And then also we can just select our time period as well. So for example, if I need to download all the footage that happened this morning between 7 a.m. and just throwing out any number, 9:30, I can do that. So that is the playback of this. I guess I'll open it up here before we keep going. Any questions so far, or Dylan, anything that you've seen that you want to know a little bit more about?
No, I think the analytics, like you said, will cover. I'll make sure the link goes out after this to that webinar. If we deep dive into that. Um, no, I think it's good overview so far.
Awesome. Along with that, this is, you know, the quick highlights of ViewStation. And the other thing here too is LPR. So of course we do have an LPR camera that allows us to go through and to search for that. So looks like maybe we do have a question there. So we can do an LPR search from here and do all that as well, which again, we actually did have a webinar too. This is also available on that software. So let me pull up those questions. So, a couple of questions. I'll just go ahead and answer them. Can we view night view? Yeah, just can show a couple of pieces of footage here. Obviously, the big thing is if anything is actually happening at night is the other question. But well, here we go. We see a deer here at 4 a.m. So that's interesting. But we have a lot of deer at our headquarters apparently. So the other thing is the question we had is what are the blue frames? So like this over here, that's part of that analytics. So that is going to allow us to where we set up the zones basically. So anywhere you see where these blue zones are the analytic zones. So let me bring some up here. So you can see that we're detecting anybody that goes into this zone here. And actually we'll see it live here too. And then the last couple questions are about like their version. So you can go on our website. We'll provide that link to you to get the latest one. And then in terms of if you have an older one, in most cases you don't have to uninstall it. You just download and install it, and it will upgrade it as well. So the on the Mac, it is actually in the App Store, so you can just download there and it auto updates. But on Windows, it doesn't auto update at the moment. So all right. Yeah, the last thing I did want to showcase here on the 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 software here is a feature we call tray search. So what I'm going to do here is, one of the situations you run into in any security situation, but especially multi-location because you guys are so busy, you have to deal with lots of things. AT&T coming to your door, um, and so the key thing is like being able to um, hit the be able to find somebody across all of your cameras within the facility and limit the amount of time you're spending pulling footage and incident reports is huge for like a centralized loss management team or a centralized HR team. So, for example, if I want to see all the video of this person walking in and see where they've been, I can click this tray search button. I draw a box around them, click tray search here. And what it's going to do is it's going to match them up with the other cameras that are in our system. So this is a newer feature of ours. It does require cameras with the AI that we're kind of seeing so far, as well as one of our newer supported NVRs. But this allows me to see kind of everywhere he's been walking. So here he is coming in the morning on the other camera. Here he is going into the office again. And then down here as well, coming into the office. So, if I'm looking for, something, maybe a person shoplifted from a store and I need to find that footage, it makes it a lot simpler for me to download that footage basically. So, all right. Um, I want to say that basically concludes our live demo side of this. We also have EMAP functions here as well. So you can put multiple locations and you can see the cameras kind of in a map setting, which again can be useful for multi-location as well. So you can kind of click and see what's going on over here, um, and all that stuff. So lots of features within the ViewStation software that are great for multi-location. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the tips and considerations. So, one of the first things, and you saw me do this when we were doing the live view, right? That you can name your cameras, and that's really, really important when it comes to multi-location because you want to be able to create those save views and be able to have your users access the cameras very, very quickly and easily. If every camera is just camera O1 or camera O2, that can be make it more difficult to find footage, make it more difficult to find live view. And, um, we recommend that when you're doing onboarding a new location to name them as soon as you can, really as part of the onboarding process. Because sometimes what happens with multi-location is you can kind of skip that step and then all of a sudden, things move very quickly in multi-location franchisees, and all of a sudden you have 400 cameras and none of them have a name. And then what generally takes about 5 minutes to name, a 30 camera system, all of a sudden becomes a task that's going to take a day or two. and it becomes a little bit overwhelming. So this is a small, tip, but it's definitely something that will pay itself forward many, many times over. Another thing about naming the cameras is you want to keep them pretty consistent too, right? So naming schemes are important, like use descriptors that are going to be consistent across location. Cash register one, cash register two, descriptors, back, front. Sometimes people will get even more and use like directional too. So they'll see this is the north, the south, the east, and the west. And that's kind of important because some of this again, when you have a centrally managed loss prevention, maybe, they're going to be looking at Google Maps and they're going to say, hey, yeah, they went behind the building. And, we could look for back. We could search for back when we're doing that search. We could look for north, assuming the building is kind of facing south there. And so, the key thing is local users. So your people who are actually on location, again, I'll keep using convenience stores as our example, but the cashiers at the convenience store and the manager at of the convenience store should know what those names mean. Um, Now, centralized users, so like your centralized monitor teams, everybody like that should also know what it means. So keep that consistent so it's easy for everyone to find those cameras. The other side of multi-location that's difficult is just keeping a system of, 20, 30 locations and 400 cameras all working correctly. You want to make sure that when there's an incident that the video looks good, that the video is there, that it's recording, and that the settings are right and all that. Um, so, and that could be a lot of different things. That could be a camera going offline. It could be a camera that's blocked by a spider web, like we see over here. So now that camera at night is not, um, that effective, right? And so one of the things that, we offer as well is that we do offer health checks. And so these health checks allow you to know that your cameras are retaining, 7 days of video, if that, or 30 days, or whatever your minimums are. That all of your cameras are recording, that the hard drives are okay, that the clock is correct. Some people, if you forget to set the time when you first get the system, it could be set to a wrong time zone, especially if you're in a location where you span time zones, right? We could do that. You could also do your own as well. I think we also have a checklist of ones that we recommend that we can send off as well as part of this that allow you to maybe quarterly spend, a little bit, couple minutes. It doesn't take too long, but obviously when you have multiple locations, that gets compounded, I guess. And so. Yeah, definitely want to do either your own health checks or work with us to get that done. Now, this is also where I want to talk about managing users and access. So, I mentioned that with the login there, and so the that is like the user experience, right? The end user experience, your managers, your everyone who's just interacting with the camera system who doesn't necessarily manage the settings or anything like that. All they're going to have to do is log into the desktop application, the ViewStation software we just saw, or they're going to have to log into, the mobile app, right? And they have the exact same options. The mobile app is also multi-location compatible. Um, but for the admins, the people who are going to be managing that system and managing all the people who need access, how do we do that? And so that's a really important part of multi-location. Maybe possibly one of the top on most of the list of making sure that this is something that they're going to be able to manage without much issues. And so I want to show you kind of what that looks like here. So you can see it's really simple. Let me go ahead and show you a screenshot first. So within the back end of the admin interface here, you'll see that it lists off all the NVRs that are under our account. And then down here, we have the ability to share it. So when we hit that share button, we get this option here, which then allows you to put in that person's email address. Um, and then you can choose which permissions they have access to. So you can do more simple ones like access to say, you can see over here, we can choose if they have access to live view, PTZ controls, two-way audio, push notifications, playback, or device configuration. So you can choose those on a more grand base, on a wider basis. Or you can also choose to do this on a more camera by camera by creating roles. So that means that maybe you want only the managers to see the outside cameras or whatever you need to do. You can get more granular with that as well and then share that role. Now from there, figuring out who has access to the system is also very easy because there's a tab that will go over that as well. So you can see over here on the right that we list off everyone who has access to our system, and it's very easy to revoke that access. So if I go, Kenny over here is in our sales team. If I don't want him to have access to my system anymore, all I have to do is hit that delete button, and they no longer have access. So it's a pretty simple solution. To maintaining users. There's a lot to this as well, in terms of, we can create folders and share entire, folders of locations. So let's just use the example of like a southeast location where you have all of your southeast convenience stores in one folder. We can share that entire folder to, say, the new regional manager. So you don't have to share 10 systems separately. Um, for those who want to learn more about that, I definitely would recommend reaching out to us, and we'll do a little bit more of a one-to-one, understand your rollout, your solution, and make sure that it's um, it's easy to do there. So on top of that, along with being the user platform, right? This is also the connection platform as well. So what this cloud relay service does for you is it allows very easy network access. So there's no port forwarding with our systems. There's no UPnP or automatic port forwarding basically. Quite literally, you can plug in most situations, you can plug in these NVRs, scan the QR code that's on the back of it, and have access remotely. It's really that simple. And so it simplifies that network rollout. That means you don't need to involve IT quite as much. In most cases, again, you just need to make sure that you have an internet connection if you do want that remote access. So again, and the last kind of stuff too, and this is an important one, is operating procedures within a multi-location. So that allows you to set up what we mean by that is set up a clear chain of command or operating procedures. So, for example, when you're thinking about upgrading or getting a new camera system across all your locations, who is responsible for adding a new user? You know, is it multiple people? Is it a team? Is it one person? Making sure that that's clear so when they go to contact somebody, they know who to contact. Um, what about when there's issues? What about when a camera's down or a camera has spiders on front of it or whatever? What's the procedure for that? Um, and then another thing, and I mentioned this earlier on, is what support exists and who can reach them. In a lot of cases, support exists, but it may not be that your employees can reach them as well. That's one of the big differences with SCW. If they're just having an issue with like, hey, how do I do this on my phone? Or how do I change my camera name to something else? We can do that, help them remotely, assuming they have permissions and all that. So, figuring that out within the scope of a rollout is really, really important. And then to go along with that, training. So a small bit of knowledge goes a very long way with this software, right? The software itself is not totally that complicated, especially the core features that most people need. Um, but if you spend a few minutes with new users so that they're familiar with the platform, it's going to pay off by quite a bit, right? And we can provide that training for you, your teams. So whether you as the admin wants to be sort of the person who's dealing with it and gets all of the requests to do training, or if you want us to help train your employees, we're happy to do both of those. We can do remote training through Zoom, or we can also do in-person trainings as well. Some of our people prefer doing that in a room and all that. So, and then on top of that too, we can help provide materials. One of our ones we did a little guide for our the cashiers there to know how to operate things. We printed it out, put it right there, and that's been, a way for them to kind of easily keep those resources on hand as well. So, and that's kind of the end of it. So, obviously, with multi-location, there's a lot of factors to think about, whether you're installing this yourself and you've got that team that can do it, or if you're looking for turnkey, there's just a lot of things. And I would definitely be happy to answer any questions that you guys have as we come up here. Um, I see a couple already. And then we also, if you're interested in learning a little bit more and getting a little bit more of a personalized demo, definitely let us know. We'll reach out and get you with one of our security experts to do that. Um, so with that, I'll go ahead and answer some of these questions. So, does the LPR smart search feature have to be built into the cameras, or can the software do it on its own? Great question. So the cameras do in our solution, it's the cameras are providing most of that. So the cameras themselves do have to support that. Now, I will mention that some of our NVRs, and I see this as a trend that's going to happen throughout the next little bit, is that some of our NVRs can also turn older or cameras that don't have kind of that brains there into smart cameras as well. So you can get some of that people and vehicle detection. When it comes to LPR specifically, we have a specific LPR camera that has that built-in analytics as well as like the specs to properly capture license plates consistently as well. So the zoom lens, the lighting, the sensors, all that fun stuff. And then we got a question about inviting us to submit for our RFP. Absolutely. We'll definitely reach out to you and work with you to make sure that we can be part of that. And yeah, I guess Dylan, you may have mentioned this while I had to take a step away there, but we'll be having a email follow up with this with both the recording as well as some of the information we talked over there as well. So stuff on the health check and the ViewStation software, as well as maybe some of the features we saw, like the tray search as well. So,
Yeah, you should get that email here pretty quick when Zoom processes this, and then wrote down a few things I'm going to send as well: the health check checklist, link to the analytics webinar, and then some more info on night vision as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know that was a question as well, and um, we have a lot of different. Actually, right now, in terms of night vision, actually next month is our next webinar is actually going to be on night vision, and that's because we've rolled out another new set of cameras that have really great night vision. Um, Part of the issue of showing it live here, and I can absolutely go through and just to show you kind of what maybe this will look like here. The biggest issue is that a lot of times nothing quite is going on here. We can see over here that this is not much going on in front of this camera. You can see if there's been anything
I think for
here.
perspective, maybe show how dark that area really is at night
Yeah,
as
so that's what I was
well.
actually gonna do. I was gonna try to do it live, but we'll go to the actual recordings here. So let me bring that up. Um, So yeah, this is one of our newer cameras. We actually also have a similar technology on our fixed lens now. So it's a feature we call Chroma IQ. It's a great image processor that allows it to work at night here. But to give some perspective here, like Dylan saying, this is a really good example here. This is actually that camera we were just looking at. We have it in IR mode at the moment, but it can also do color mode. But this is at night, and you can kind of see this is a street light out here, so you can kind of see how bright that is, quite bright for the camera. Um, and then as I pan over here, you start to see other ones, like over here, this is a typical kind of porch light on the front of a building. And then as we keep panning, you get to the SCW side, which we actually don't have very much external lighting or zero external lighting on this side. So you can see it's very, very dark. Um, and I'm going to walk up to the camera over here in just a second. After I pan over here again, you can see this is more of a commercial lighting situation over here. So you can see it's quite bright to the iPhone camera. It does a really good job of doing that. And this is an iPhone 17 Pro. So it's, the latest and greatest from Apple. But as I walk over here on the bottom right, you'll see that this is actually the view from the security camera. And so, this technology has made it to where, you know, getting good low light video, whether you've got good external lighting or you don't, is now very possible. So if you're interested in night vision, I would definitely recommend joining us next month for that. Keep an eye out for the emails, and um, yeah, we'll be going deep into all of that night vision technology because it's really really exciting. So, and by the way, that's also with the white light off on this camera. So there's no white light on for this camera that does have the option of doing white light if it's in a very, very dark situation, but in most cases it doesn't need to do that. Or again, it could do IR if you want to do that as well. So yeah, I appreciate all of the questions and engagement. And we don't have any other questions. We'll stay here for just another minute just to wait to see if we have any other questions. But if not, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and a good weekend coming up here in just a couple days. And yeah, all got, I think.
Excited for that night vision one. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love I love the subtle bashes on iPhone too as you go through.
Actually, I would say the iPhones do great at night vision. I mean, for like low light,
Right,
they do honestly really, really good. I mean, just
right.
even my, mirrorless camera that I had last, like it was a couple years old and stuff, like it couldn't do even with a great lens on it, like the way that iPhones are doing it now. So it's just kind of like it's just a example. Most people have been, back in, I mean, just think about a couple years ago, you barely take a picture in like your house when it was too dark of your pet because it'd be blurry. Now it's like, man, like the technology moves so quick on that. So no bashing
Yeah.
intended. It's just there. Most
Oh
people
no,
know
no.
what an iPhone camera looks like, so that's what I'm going for.
That was for me because I'm an anti-iPhone person
Oh,
in general. Yeah.
you have an Android phone?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Pixel person. I love the
Oh, Pixel.
Pixels.
Okay, yeah,
It's hard to,
I
yeah.
like both of them. So,
Hard.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely it's crazy how much that technology has moved, and now we're seeing even bigger breakthroughs in security where, night is probably our biggest concern. So yeah, definitely a fun webinar coming up. So all right, everybody. Well, I appreciate everyone's time, and we'll go ahead and end this one for now. And if any other questions come up, feel free to reach out to us. Talk to an expert one-to-one. You reach out to me, I'm happy to answer as well. So thank you guys again, and we'll talk to you soon.
So, thanks, James.
Thanks. Bye-bye.